Ilya Muromets. The Ilya Muromets was a Russian biplane that first flew in 1913 and became the world's first aircraft to enter serial multi-engine production with over 85 units built. Designed by Igor Sikorsky, it could carry up to 16 passengers and was remarkable for its enclosed heated cabin, electric lighting, and even an onboard washroom, luxuries unheard of in aviation at the time. During World War I, it was converted into a heavy bomber and flew hundreds of missions, establishing the template for large multi-engine military aircraft that would follow for decades. Zeppelin-Staaken R.VI. The Zeppelin-Staaken R.VI was the largest aircraft to fly in regular operational service during World War I. With a wingspan of 42.2 meters and a maximum takeoff weight of around 11.6 tons, it was a giant by any standard of its era. Germany built 56 of them, using them as long-range strategic bombers to strike targets in England. The R.VI required a crew of 7 and was powered by 4 engines mounted in tandem push-pull pairs between the wings, an unusual configuration designed to maximize power while keeping the aircraft balanced. Tarrant Tabor. The Tarrant Tabor was a triplane bomber designed at the end of World War I with an ambition that exceeded the engineering knowledge of the time. It had a wingspan of 40 meters, weighed nearly 20 tons at maximum takeoff weight, and was powered by 6 engines arranged across 3 levels of wings. Only one was ever built. On its first takeoff attempt in 1919, the 2 upper engines were opened to full power, which created such a severe nose-down pitching moment that the aircraft flipped forward and crashed on the runway, killing 2 of the crew. It never flew. Dornier Do X. The Dornier Do X was a German flying boat that first flew in 1929 and briefly held records as the longest, widest, and heaviest aircraft in the world. It was powered by 12 engines mounted back-to-back in 6 tandem pairs above the wing and could carry up to 100 passengers across its 3 decks, making it the most luxuriously appointed aircraft of its era. Only 3 were ever built. In 1931, one completed a transatlantic crossing from Germany to New York, though the journey took nearly 10 months due to a series of mechanical delays and incidents along the route. Kalinin K-7. The Kalinin K-7 was a Soviet experimental heavy aircraft of enormous proportions, with a wingspan of 53 meters that made it the widest aircraft in the world at the time of its construction. Its design was unconventional. The fuselage was extremely short relative to its wingspan, with the tail carried on twin booms extending behind the wings, and gondolas beneath the wings that housed landing gear and were intended to carry passengers or troops. Only one prototype was completed. It crashed in November 1933 during its 7th test flight when a tail boom failed in a vibration-induced structural collapse, killing 14 of the 20 people on board. Tupolev Ant-20. The Tupolev Ant-20, named Maxim Gorky after the Soviet writer, was the largest aircraft in the world when it was completed in 1934 with a wingspan of 63 meters and a maximum takeoff weight of over 52 tons. It was built as a propaganda aircraft and carried a printing press, a radio station, a photographic laboratory, and a film projector capable of projecting images onto the clouds. It could carry 72 passengers. The original aircraft was destroyed in 1935 when a formation escort fighter collided with it during an air show over Moscow, killing 45 people on board and on the ground. A second example was built and continued flying until 1942. Douglas XB-19. The Douglas XB-19 was an American experimental bomber that first flew in 1941 and briefly held the record as the longest and widest aircraft in the world, with a wingspan of 64.6 meters and a length of 40.3 meters. Only one was ever built. By the time it flew, its performance was already behind contemporary bomber designs, and it was never put into production. Instead, it was used as a flying test laboratory to gather data on large aircraft systems. It was scrapped in 1949. Despite never entering service, the engineering experience gained from its development directly informed the design of subsequent American heavy bombers. Messerschmitt Me-323. The Messerschmitt Me-323 Gigant was the largest land-based transport aircraft to operate during World War II and one of the very few large aircraft in history to have begun life as a glider. It was a powered development of the Me-321 military glider, fitted with 6 engines to give it independent flight capability. With a maximum takeoff weight of 42.3 tons and a cargo capacity of nearly 12 tons, it was used by the Luftwaffe to transport tanks, artillery, vehicles, and troops across the Mediterranean to supply German forces in North Africa. A total of 198 were built, though they suffered significant losses due to their slow speed and vulnerability to fighter attack. Martin JRM Mars. The Martin JRM Mars was an American flying boat originally developed for the United States Navy as a long-range patrol aircraft, which first flew in 1942. It became the largest flying boat to enter serial production with 7 aircraft completed. The Mars had a wingspan of 61 meters and a maximum takeoff weight of over 73 tons, making it the heaviest aircraft in the world until the Junkers U-390. The Navy used it primarily as a cargo and personnel transport across the Pacific. 4 of the production aircraft survived service and were converted for aerial firefighting in Canada, where they continue to operate for decades by scooping water from lakes to combat forest fires. Latécoère 631. The Latécoère 631 was a French flying boat designed before World War II, but not entering service until after it. With a length of 43.5 meters, it was the longest aircraft in the world until the Convair B-36. It was powered by 6 radial engines and could carry 46 passengers across the Atlantic in considerable comfort, as it was intended to serve as a luxury transatlantic airliner for Air France. 11 were built, but the type was plagued by accidents. 3 were lost in crashes, including one that killed all 52 people on board in 1948, and the type was withdrawn from passenger service by 1955 as land-based airliners made flying boats commercially unviable. Junkers U-390. The Junkers U-390 was a German long-range heavy bomber and transport developed during World War II as part of the America Bomber project, an effort to develop aircraft capable of bombing targets on the United States mainland from European bases. It was an enlargement of the Junkers U-290, with an additional wing section and 2 extra engines, giving it 6 engines in total, and a maximum takeoff weight of over 74 tons, making it the heaviest aircraft in the world at the time. Only 2 prototypes were completed. One is reported to have made a test flight in early 1944 that came within 20 kilometers of the American coastline before returning to Europe, though this claim remains disputed among aviation historians. Blohm & Voss BV-238. The Blohm & Voss BV-238 was the heaviest aircraft built anywhere in the world during World War II, with a maximum takeoff weight of over 98 tons. It was a large 6-engine flying boat designed for long-range maritime patrol and transport. Only 1 prototype was completed, and it first flew in 1944. The aircraft demonstrated good flying characteristics during testing, but its operational future was cut short in 1945 when it was destroyed on the water at Lake Chalsea by American P-51 Mustang fighters who strafed it during a low-level attack. No production aircraft were ever built.